All right, everybody. But I want to hit the drums on the desk, but I've learned something about my desk over the years, ladies and gentlemen. When I do that, it shakes the camera and the computer and everything. I got to come up with a different setup. Anyway, hey guys, I'm Tim Gillette. We're back here with another one of our Tim Gillette shows. You know, that means we get to interview somebody who's another person that's the coolest people on the planet. Today's guest, Gord Isman, all right, is someone I met through many different people I know in the online world and the YouTube world and stuff like that. It's like so many video people that I couldn't count how many people we know in common. But this is the first time we actually get to come on camera together and talk to you. I get to interview him. I get to ask him questions. All right, he gets to answer questions. I don't know. We'll have fun one way or another. And by the end of the broadcast, you'll understand why I chose him down here, because he's one of the coolest people on the planet. And bring him up here. Mr. Gord, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm excited to be here and share some of life's interesting journey and how we can connect.
Yeah, it's been, and I was sitting there, I was thinking about it earlier today. I was like, man, and all the places we connected on. And I think it was Joe, but I'm not sure. And I'm like looking at all this going, how many people we know in common, and shocked that we've never done a show together.
Yeah, I think it was in one of Ross's
it might have been Ross's group.
Yeah. on the monetized live stream experience, where we ended up having a nice, interesting.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did the thing with Ross's. It's like, yeah, it's like you and I have like, I want to say over 100 connections that we both know online.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah, it's like you and I are connected to each other, just never stop to have a conversation together.
That's true.
Yeah. So, which means that we both must be wise in the video space.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that's where I started to make my plunge into social media. You know, being a boomer, I was very hesitant in my early days to get involved in social media, but I also loved teaching. And when I did a career pivot in my mid 50s, I'm just 62 years young now, a few days ago, I got a real passion for video because I was able to get some of my techie background in from my previous career in computers. And but I'd never been on camera, but I loved teaching. So I discovered a passion for video and the creative side of me that I never really got to execute on, you know, pretty much for the rest of my life. Other than the one thing in, I think, 2014 that inspired me was someone pushed me to create a book about some photography I had put together and publish it. And I go, yeah, you know, and I actually wrote a poem for it and everything. And it's like, after I published it, and, you know, people that I know that checked it out and other people, I got really excited about the potential to become a content creator and, you know, took me time to figure out how that video happened to be the medium where I was going to be expressive, and I wanted to help people. So that's how I got into my world of ultimately YouTube and creating tutorial videos on video editing, video marketing, and YouTube. So that's sort of a quick way of
isn't it something though? Like, you know, I mean, every one of us have, like, I do a lot of videos, I do a lot of audios. I would rather sit down and type something. That's just being honest. I would. All right. But my audience wants me on video. All right. Have you gotten things like your audience loves you on video, but like they really want the book on how to do this?
Well, that's interesting, because I'm one of these perfectionist types that always overdoes the project, the task, the video, and everything. So when I was starting to put together what I'll call my lead magnet, I wrote a 30,000 word ebook on video, and like no one makes something that big unless they're like getting to the effort to publish. But at first I was, you know, this video thing, how can I do this? I was like a totally stiff, frozen board, and I couldn't get like excited in front of the camera or let myself, you know, be a little more loose. I mean, I'm not, you know, that overly expressive, but I'm at least comfortable now in front of the camera, and I'm me. And that took a while to get there. So at first I didn't want to, you know, rush to do video. And then I thought I was going to do things like newsletters, blog articles, and that, but I didn't really get an interest to dive down there, because I realized I wanted to create evergreen tutorials, and Camtasia was my core focus that built out a lot of my channel and authority. So choreographing and coming up with tutorial solutions to problems, and then doing that sometimes they would take 2 to 3 days out of my week when I would be producing something that would be involved. And I realized, I haven't found out a way to do all the other things. Sure, I'd love to be able to write more and stuff like that, but I'm doing like a weekly, or when I was publishing weekly, email campaign or broadcast to share with people the video. But now I'm going to start to share additional lessons and deep dive into some other topics that I may not cover in video, but that are video related, that I may not cover on the channel, but people are interested.
Yeah.
Because I found through a survey, they want a lot more from me. And that's one of the interesting things, we as a creator think about what we know, what we're going to serve up, right? Mm-hmm. Often, well, you take a totally different approach, because it's like you turn up that day and you drive a conversation wherever it's going to go, which is, kind of magical in itself. Yeah. But everything
it is tough though.
is pretty structured and directed. Mm-hmm. So I'm used to that. I'll call it comfort zone, because I'm prepared.
Yeah.
So it's not like but when I go on with people like Ross, I may have my list of questions, and who knows, we could talk for 2-3 hours.
Yeah. Well, Ross and I, we've talked for hours, but then again, like the mastermind you sit on, it's like I get on, and what I always love about getting into something like that, Ross is great at live streaming. To me, I'm an amateur at live streaming. I'm just honest with that. I'm an amateur at it. Ross is an expert. Then Ross comes to me and goes, well, wait a minute, I can build my email list. I'm like, yeah, because I know that. I've got that part down. I can say I'm an expert there, but I'm not. And then I got like Joe Pardo helping me. He's in my mastermind as well, helps me perfect my podcast type idea, as well as Larry Roberts. So it's like I plug into the right people. All right. And it's great having a community, because all of those things really work well together. But like by themselves, you may succeed, and you may be just this one guy standing out here all by himself. You know what I mean? It's kind of working as a team, and that's what I have loved about this industry. And then you come along and you get to know guys like you. Like I'm shocked that you and I didn't know each other with all the information you've got out on the web when I was looking at your YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I've been more committed to just being all in on YouTube, not even a huge amount on Facebook. Or I've started accidentally started my Facebook page in earnest in the last year. And I'm, curating and sharing a lot of stuff for people to grow in their experience. But because reach sucks so bad on the page, it's almost like useless. I'm probably going to migrate into a Facebook group, because I'm very soon to launch a YouTube course for people that are starting out and that may have a small channel, and to learn all the ins and outs, because I'm just about approaching 10,000. And I think because I've gone through so many ups and downs with health challenges and pivots and all kinds of things, I feel I've got a lot of amazing lessons to share. So I'm really excited about, doing that. And so, but, you do podcasting and you have, these other assets, like these other places that you post and share on. I have not matured to that level. So I'm like one of these, this is my primary platform, and I'll build out the secondary as I'll call it the rest of the pieces of the puzzle in place. And in order to get there, I'm learning that as I coach clients and do consulting work, I only have so much time, and the solopreneurship thing has, been a recent thing for me, and learning how to get help and resources that I can delegate to and get some assistance and still work to build it is my challenge. So I want to, people said, oh, you should do a podcast. Those interviews you've done with all the YouTube strategy stuff and influencers that are amazing. I can listen to you for hours because they love to hear my voice. That's what they said. One of the things, and I go, oh, so the idea comes to want to do the podcast, but I never went through with anything because I had such a mess of health for the last good part of 3 years now. But now I'm back with my health. So, but lots of lessons in there too.
Yeah. It's interesting that, that's one of the things you said was like, people like your voice. I get people want to see me on camera. And I think I said I was meeting, I'm meeting a potential client the other day, And I said, like, I don't know what they see about this. They want to see it. I don't get it. All right. But we all think we're ugly in some fashion or sort. We don't like whatever they like. But it's not about me. It's not about what I like. It's about what the consumer likes, you know? And
Totally.
did you ever have a problem with that learning? You know what I mean? Well, I got to find out what the consumer likes as opposed to what I want to do.
Well, at first, I think this is one of the big lessons for content creators.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really out there truly to serve, it's not about you. You aren't the hero. The hero is the person you're serving. And at first, you know, we have a passion and inspiration. We get motivated and we start to do things, but then, you know, that interest may wane because something you're going to create in your heart, you think is kind of not totally resonating with you, and you can't get, you know, you procrastinate and don't get that kind of content out. But then you realize it's not always going to be an easy road, because people are going to ask things of you and want to, you know, can you do something on this or something on that? And I may, for my own liking, think, I don't think so. I don't really want to do that. So, you know, I have to balance what's kind of selfish content with what is my purpose out here. And my purpose is to serve and help people. So yes, you need to, it's okay to have some of that degree of selfishness, but hopefully it's in satisfying your niche for the most part, and not just doing things artistically for the sake of that. Oh, I love that I was able to play with this tool and do that and make that creation. But look at it, it's got, you know, 30 views.
Yeah.
You know, for me, that would be like a travesty.
Yeah. No, I look at everything I do, and the biggest thing I love doing was interviewing people and getting their story out. So it's like, it's where I went, and I've made that my main content focus online. But I still get people who want me to do the training. All right. So I'm trying to balance that in my own world as we speak right now, Gord. Really, it's as we speak, I'm balancing that in my own life.
Sure.
Have you ever gotten a place in yours where you were going along the lines and you felt guilty, like, oh my God, I'm doing too much over here. I'm really supposed to be doing over here. And the guilt feel, not that you were supposed to be doing either, but it was a guilt feel that you had to get over.
Guilt, or more like an overwhelm? You mean guilt, like I was
could be overwhelmed, kind of the same emotional concept there behind it. Yeah.
Or do you mean indulging in something that was more for me than for what I should be doing to serve?
Yeah. Like you felt like, you know what I mean? Yeah, but I want to do this, but they want to do that. And I don't want to do that. So it could be guilt, could be overwhelmed, could be, you know, yeah.
Yeah. So from an overwhelmed standpoint, there's so many things I want to do creatively for educating people. So I would love to mega deep dive in YouTube, mega deep dive in video marketing and social video, and Camtasia, where I built a big core bulk of what I'm doing. But to deliver on all four cylinders there is like you're thin, and not able to serve everybody, right? So what happens is, from the purity standpoint, that's more of a diversified niche than totally niche down, but it is still a niche because I'm all about video. So my goal is to help people, because it's not just about, okay, I create video, now what am I going to do with it, right? So are you using it for your personal branding? Is it something to help you grow your business? Or is it just a message you need to get out, right? Or are you trying to entertain people? Like, you know, people are creating video for a purpose, and I want to help educate people to understand what the term video marketing means as something to help them achieve whatever goals they've set for their reason to go on something like YouTube or produce video content, right? But in order to do that, it's my belief and how I want to serve, that I have that diversity of content to cover. So I'm not only going to do just Camtasia or just YouTube or just video editing tips. I'm going to cover that diversity, because I believe that someone who's getting into content creation, particularly with video, will need to, you know, develop a variety of skills, at least in the beginning, until they can, like, I guess, afford to delegate or get a VA and share out some of those tasks to get done. But I believe, you know, and that's been evidenced by the kind of clients I get, you know, course creators, people starting YouTube channels, you know, solopreneurs doing things to help, you know, build their brand, and they want to get on YouTube. So the smattering of stuff I cover and I do social video too. I've done lots of videos on educating on tips on how to do social video. So I see that as something that has given me overwhelm because I feel I can't juggle enough. Yeah. I can't juggle enough to do it. And as far as guilt goes, if I were to ever use that, I'd only say I may be losing out. I'm shortchanging myself if I was purely interested in YouTube as a growth mechanism alone for numbers, vanity numbers. But that's not how I look at what I'm doing and how I'm serving, right?
Yeah.
So.
And you said how long have you been in this field of doing this now?
Since
how many
2016.
Years? 2016. Okay.
Yeah, I first started out. I actually took a course called Trust Funnel with Brian G. Johnson, who then founded a huge Facebook group that has now, I think, close to 30,000 people in it. I was like number 8 or 9 in the group because we came from Trust Funnel with the intention of starting this community where it would be for video creators. And that's when I got my start. And I remember how I was with my first few videos, and when Brian was an encourager for me, and I actually had private coaching from him for a while, and developed a lot of my skills and how to get my focus. And it was really cool to go through that.
Cool. Now, when it comes to, you started with Brian, all right, which, I think we all know Brian. I mean, he's very well known in the industry, but we started with Brian. How many other mentors or coaches have you worked with since 2016?
Okay, so I've taken like a smattering of programs, like I don't know if you heard of Jim Fortin, but I followed his program in self-development and trying to find out how I can take myself to be what I want to be for what I want to achieve. And so there's self-development stuff, and there's other mentors that I watched a lot of their content on to learn and grow, like the Nick Nimmons of the world and Sean Cannell's, Roberto Blake's, and I'm sure there's all kinds of other creators I can mention, not just in the YouTube space, but in filmmaking, because I started to get into filmmaking 2 years ago, and that's really exploded my creative perspective on things and what I can do to share with people. And I've actually participated in producing 2 or 3 short documentaries that are have been well received with the work that we did. And so I like a lot of mentors like that. And then now I'm more recently in coaching groups tied to sales and marketing, because one of the big holes for solopreneur Gord is he does not like the sales and marketing game per se that it involves, because I'm introverted in nature, so it's not like me to say have a calls to action and actually be suggesting people to go check this out or do that, or maybe you might be interested in my private coaching, so that kind of stuff does not come naturally or comfortably to me. So when it comes to me being on my own, you know what it's like, right? It's easy to avoid doing that, but you're not going to pull yourself further unless you're firing on a variety of areas that you need to succeed as an entrepreneur.
It's interesting you mentioned some of that stuff in there, because it's as I look through some of the people that have helped me and some of the things that I've plugged into over the years, and you mentioned names, people I'm friends with on Facebook, but I've seen once or not friends with on Facebook that I've seen. And the Nimmin brothers, I've seen both of them at Video Marketing World a couple of years ago. Roberto Blake and I've known each other. I've known him since the Blab days, which is 2015, 15 timeframe. But it's interesting because we all plug into and learn things differently. I started out with blogging and in 2010. And I remember going to a mastermind in 2013, and someone had a breakout session at this mastermind on blogging, and I went. And I'm sitting there, and the person just who's leading the breakout sessions decides to go to everybody at the table and says, "You know what? I want you all to tell me where you're at to see what we can do to help." And when they came to me, I'm like, well, you know what I mean? I've been posting on a WordPress site since 2010. I got about 30. I only have about 30,000 subscribers, and I'm just under 1,000 posts, so I'm really not there yet. and she goes, you should be in the video group over here. Really, what I go, because like she didn't have this,
Right.
and she's like, why are you in this group if you know all that? I says, to learn more. I could never stop learning about the field I'm in. And video, like you said, YouTube video, and I've noticed this in the past 5 years, especially in YouTube video. What I learned in YouTube video in 2013 when I first took a course about it is irrelevant. You know what I mean? You've got to be
a lot of the tactics that would work for people to grow their channels don't even apply now, because all those holes in the machine have been filled, and you can't go scam the machine in order to get your numbers. And subscribers are far harder to come by now than they were. But I would never discourage a soul for them to believe that YouTube is saturated, because we're all unique people and we have a message to get out there. Learn some of the, that's what I'm doing in my course. It's going to be it's called YouTube Channel Essentials. So once you learn the basics, it's an incredible world of opportunity on many fronts for people to explore. And so, I just advocate, they always say it's getting tougher. So yeah, it is from a competitive standpoint, and the algorithm evolves. And bottom line is, you make good content, you get a little, like what they say, 1% better each time out. You're gradually and listen to what the people communicate and analyze some of your analytics to see what stuff's working or not. It's amazing how far you can progress with some consistency. And I just want to be able to share with people, having gone through my experience so far in stages of growth and fighting 2 or 3 major illness things that would have stopped people and forced them to give up, and fighting at a point in time the challenge of burnout. You don't need to give up on your dream. And if you have a setback, if something like YouTube is a primary platform that can help you succeed as a content creator and into your business, and the future is only going more and more to the medium of video as a means of, it's not about, having to do a Me Too now. It's like, if you aren't there and showing up and who you are, and people can't connect with you, well, there's a better chance they'll connect and figure out other people that they like, because they may not be interested in consuming just the written word to get familiar with.
You're right. Well, let me ask you this, Gord, is, you shared you went through some illnesses. All right. Are you creating content to where you go in now and share some of your personal stuff, and not just your business teachings? Yeah.
In January, I had, in the last 2 years, 19 months, had produced a total of 3 or 4 videos because of sickness and illness. And I'm going to share this story for a reason. My channel doubled, near tripled, while I was not producing video.
Wow.
And the amazing thing is, I decided I was going to do a comeback video to explain to people why I've been away. And I respect you and I appreciate you. And, I think that's such an important thing, is to show your appreciation. And believe me, it stressed me a lot. But, in 2000, and I think it's 18, I just want to make sure I got my years right. I had an emergency brain surgery, and I was about to die. I lost my sense of vision, my motor skills, very rapidly. But I had migraine headaches come on for a period of time, and I had no clue what was wrong. A friend said, let's go to emergency. And they said, you must have had some kind of physical trauma in the last whatever period of time. I have a brain bleed that put a hemorrhage pressure, massive pressure on my brain. And that had to be addressed the next morning on a Saturday.
Wow.
So then, you wake up after your surgery and you turn your head and you hear, a swashing fish tank in your head, noise in your head from whatever went on from the surgery. And you have, a scar that's 37 staples long, and you wonder, what's my future now? So I went through that, and then a year later diagnosed with an eye tumor that they threatened I was going to lose my eye because it was close to my optic nerve, and then it's an inch from being a severe cancer that could metastasize through your body. And it was like, whoa, another timeout breather. Plus I was stressed. Anyways, long story short, if I'm getting there,
Yeah,
I decided I want to get out of the city. I don't want the stress of living in the city environment. I've never experienced the country. I want to get back to I want to be near nature. I want to be in a smaller community. I've always talked about and thought about experiencing something else, but because of financial distress, poor health, and all of these things, I just said, time to take a cut out of life. So between that time, 2018, and when I'm just starting now to get back again. I've only produced a couple of more videos, but my health is 100%. So I produced this I'm Back video that goes through and it tells people what I went through in my health journey, the bottom peaks that I hit and how I'm working to get out of it. Plus I parallel things like the performance on my YouTube channel and how I felt being out of action and all of these things, and considering comeback and what does it mean for my channel now. So I'm sharing my journey, like, as Gary Vee says, document, don't create. So this was my first attempt at that kind of thing. And you talk about vulnerability. Well, I asked members of my family, friends, whatever, and everyone's like, are you crazy? Why do you want to tell people you had this happen and that happen and all that sour milk stuff? And I'm going, because I want to show people I am a creator, like you might be a creator. And guess what? You can have setbacks. You can come back. There are some great people out there that will support you. And believe it or not, like that video now has over 1,000 views. I've got someone reach out to me to do a collab that's a bigger person than me, that's had health challenge problems. I've had several people reach out to me that my story resonated with their heart, and they wished me well and all this kind of stuff. And it actually had a profound effect to build the confidence, the muscle of I'm willing to share aspects and things about my journey that may not be so pleasant if I can help someone else. It's not about, and when I say being a boomer, a lot of boomers are like, I'm not sharing my life or too much of myself on social because it's nobody's business. And I came from that, being a late bloomer, to even get on social, and here I am now rocking out videos on YouTube, right?
Yeah. And
so that I hope that answers your question about vulnerability.
Well, yeah, it does, because oh my gosh,
going that way.
Yeah, most people won't. They I mean, the age you and I grew up in, we only saw the perfect person on TV. We didn't see the imperfections that now, with social media, the paparazzi, all right, you name it, is brought forward. The real. Yeah. All right, shall we say, well, the real Tim Gillette, that's what people see that now. And now with reality TV, all right, you know what I mean? I know some of the producers of reality TV on some of these shows, and they said, listen, people started watching reality TV because they want to see people are real. And when reality TV came out, soap operas went down. And it's like, that should tell you what the general public, like you go back to what earlier, this is what they want to hear from me. Yeah. I got to share it.
YouTube is an incredible forum for reality TV. Imagine you have a license to do whatever you want within their guidelines, and you can be pretty creative.
Yeah. So speaking of guidelines, all right, have you ever found out that you crossed a guideline after the fact?
Oh, you mean a YouTube guideline thing?
YouTube or any social channel for that matter.
Yeah. So just a copyright content where they took the monetization off and gave it to whoever the source creator is of the music. But the irony is, I got the music off of Canva and it's licensed, so I just have to fight it. It's BS. They make this is all done by bots. They have no way to dot the I's and cross the T's. So I call it, it's like let's keep them honest. So they're a little more liberal with notifying than what is accurately the truth. And I don't see how they can tell, because all kinds of music is in multiple banks of service offerings and subscription services. So like, how the heck are they going to reconcile where you got that piece of music from, other than to know it requires a license, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, and yeah, I've gotten the copyright thing with music as well, because I remember the day where you used to go to a concert and you just held your phone up and videoed it. I remember being at a Styx concert and live streaming it, and like, and not the whole thing, but like part of a song. I just turn it on and live stream it, right? And I said something about that in Blab 2015. I said that's going to be one of the biggest issues that's going to come up in the next 5 years, is people turning on the TV and broadcasting the news story or the NFL game on their live stream. I said, you watch, that'll become an issue. And sure enough, it did. And
actually, now that I think about it, I have an interesting story to tell you.
That's
not
what we're here for.
About this kind of violation, but a different thing that happened to me as a creator.
Yeah.
Which really threw me for a loop, but I also matured through the process. So in my first or second year, I did a video review of a product that was like a handheld thing, like a selfie stick concept thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a new product, and they recently launched, and they were doing amazing. And they put together some contest. Apparently, I wasn't aware of the contest, but I did a thing with an affiliate link for people to go buy it. Anyways, my video was doing so well. These people reached out to me and said, hey, we won the contest and you're not sending us any, like, it's almost like this kind of like ransom experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going like, look, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not the owner of this company. I just did a product review, blah, 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 blah. Oh, we're going to ruin you. I said, well, what, like, so that the more I engaged, the deeper it got.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided en masse, 10 of them or so, went and put a dislike on every one of my videos. So every video where I had like impeccable, back when we like, oh, I don't want to have any dislikes.
Yeah, yeah.
All of a sudden, 10 across the board on every video.
Yeah,
and I'm going like, oh my God, I'm ruined.
Yeah.
Dislikes means nobody's going to watch my video, which, has proven ultimately to me that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's just a form of engagement. But they tried to trigger me, and it was like a sham. And I just had to like bite my tongue and not engage with them. And sure enough, within about a week and a half, 10 days, they stopped their harassing of me. But they said, we're going to take down your website. We're going to ruin your public, whatever persona, like all this crap. Like, you don't know. There's all kinds of things that can happen to you out there in the public domain.
Right. Now, I had something very similar to that happen with people coming after me with hate and everything. Was
right.
2015-16, when Hillary Clinton announced she was going to run for president. A friend of mine in Dallas, on her personal page, she said she was a publicist, on her personal page stated, I don't think a woman should be president. All right. And that was her personal opinion. And all of us who knew us, all of us who used her as our publicist, wrote, she's entitled to her opinion. We didn't say she was right. We didn't say she was wrong. We just said she's entitled to her opinion.
Right.
And everybody butchered us. They came down on us so bad because they were like, oh, you hate women. I'm like, no. As a matter of fact, I think it's all right that this woman has an opinion. I may not agree with it, but she's entitled to her opinion. And they came down on me, and they hit me harder because I had on Twitter, I think I had like 20-some thousand more people that followed me than her. So they hit me hard. And that's what I started to do. I just like, okay, block, elite, stop following. Yeah. I just started ignoring them. And soon enough, with like 3 weeks of ignoring people, they went away. They went off to chase the next headache they were going to chase. Cause like these people.
For me, the moral of that was, I evolved a thicker skin because it was very traumatic for me for a few days because I actually believed my life was at risk because of the threats they were making me. And it was totally unfounded and untrue. Yeah. And I just got caught in it by scammers that may be doing this kind of thing out there. So they were trying to get money from me for a prize they claim was put out there for the product, which I didn't see anything on.
Yeah. It wasn't your problem, and yet they were trying to make it your problem.
Can you imagine? Like, that's getting creative, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like, why on earth would? I don't get that. I don't get the trolling business. But then again, I've started posting like stupid things that happen. I won't tell everybody the details. I just give people the roundabout story in a print. Like for me, I'm having an issue with being blocked on a certain social media channel. So I went on there and said, well, apparently somebody doesn't like me saying happy birthday to you. All right, I didn't name them. I went through the whole scenario and typed it out. And one of my followers comes back and says, I don't get this idea of calling out the troll. I'm like, I'm not naming the troll. I'm just making him look like a fool.
Yeah, I just to be honest, although I'm doing more stuff on social and sharing and that, I don't really get into any of the very opinionated and political stuff.
I don't either.
Because honestly, it just sucks the life out of me when I get into it, because we live in a world that's very divisive right now and polarized, and so I find there's no benefit from engaging. There really isn't, because nothing's really changed in exactly what the issues are, and there's no real progress being made. So I'll just try to do the best in my own little world to live a healthy life. So
no, I make fun of my situation. This is what I do. I make fun of my situation. I don't say I'm on the right side, left side, top side, bottom side. I just make fun of my situation. And then when people want to take it to engagement or argument, I walk away. I'm just making fun of my situation. I'm laughing at me that I'm stuck in this.
But think about it. You may be attracting those trolls by
doing it.
Right. Because
I don't get that many trolls. Most of mine's, Gord, are my friends going, what happened now? Oh my God, that's hilarious. Really? That happened? Really? That happened to you? It's
So do you have, are you pretty, do you consciously think of, oh, there's a story, this little thing that happened to me, and then actually go to share it from a
I actually am trying to make a story out of everything. Yeah. I'm making a story.
I wish I could be inclined that way. Yeah. What do you tell someone who's sort of hesitant or more introverted, that doesn't think I'm the kind that would, I'll never forget Evan Carmichael talking about this. He was coming back from Bid Summit, and he's on the plane home from LA. Just before he left, he had an idea to do an Instagram daily entrepreneurial show, and he was going to invite a person on. I was lucky enough to want to be a guest on there and go to a studio in Toronto there. And by the time he was off the flight, he had come up with 10 reasons why not to do it. No time, no this, no that. I won't be able to give it justice, blah, 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 blah. But it's we need to act on it while the inspirational moment is there. And I'm a master of letting it percolate and then shooting it down, the opposite. So I was curious, how do you keep that machine going and actually move forward with it and produce?
For me, when I come up, I start with an idea, and if I can put it into almost everything of mine I want to put it into, shall we say, an assembly line process. So in other words, it's Monday I do this, Tuesday, newsletter, for instance. I've been on this thing. I got to have a newsletter on Sunday. So I started doing this whole process to do it. It's finished by Friday night. All right. I reread it again on Saturday morning, and it's set in place. I go to bed Saturday night. Sunday morning, I wake up and it's in inboxes.
So you time block your stuff. You're very disciplined. Yeah. Is that it?
Okay. Time block, and everything I do is by a schedule, which is an operations manual. I do this. I have an operations manual for everything I do.
Yeah. No, I know. The whole experience, the automated approach to get set up to come and be a guest here. Mm-hmm. But what I was going to say is, what do you do when you have what I had, where you had 2 years of physical and health and mental distress related to it, and they were all risks of dying, and you start to have to think about what am I here for, and something's got to change because my health is where it's at, and I want to live and enjoy life more and serve. So I had to take a step back, a timeout.
Yeah.
And it not once, not twice. And then the last thing I didn't tell you is late January, I got helped into emergency, near blind and near diabetic coma with a blood sugar level of 39.5 on our scale, which is near 700 on your scale. Mm-hmm. And it was another one of those wake up calls. But the thing is, it's not easy to follow a time blocking regimented discipline, and then when you fail to execute on those things, what's next, it's easy to want to feel I quit.
Yeah.
So I've had to go through like 2-3 years of like unfortunate health issues, but I never kind of gave up on myself. But I'll be the last to tell you that it was any kind of an easy ride. But it was quite a self-discovery journey.
Well, you know, Gordon, 10 years of doing this, I'll bet you I've started 500 projects. I've only finished maybe, you know, 3 dozen.
Yeah.
But I start a ton of them. Like, you know, if I'm in downtime, I write outlines. And in downtimes, I write outlines.
Nice.
And they just kept in a folder in case I ever need them. I pull the outline out to work on it. But
that's great.
Yeah, I if my brain's thinking, I take the thoughts and put them on paper. Perfect. That's just always all right. Even if I can't get on camera, I'll put my thoughts on paper and put them away. You know, and I bet you I have a notebook system that I do. I get these fancy notebooks like this. Mm-hmm. I moved on to Star Wars, my newest version.
Well, anyway. Now into mind mapping. Let's get. It's
almost like mind mapping, but yeah, all my thoughts are in those. I have a whole drawer of them down here, and I'll bet you 90% of the stuff in that stuff is, well, number one, I don't do it anymore. It's outdated. It doesn't work, but it was putting it down in writing and just, okay, now that it's down in writing, my mind's clear of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that, when you're sick, you don't have time to sit and work on it. So I put it at a place where if I ever do want to work on it, it's there. Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah. So you have a discipline. Yeah. So I write down all my ideas now and try to trap them. Mm-hmm. And that list is just like infinite right now. And so that in itself is an overwhelming thing to look at.
The reason we do that though is someday we're all going to pass away on this earth. We're not going to be here anymore. And I have a book. Hold on. It's here somewhere, Gord. Let me get it. Here. I have a book that I keep near my desk all the time. And I reread this book at least once a year. It was written in 1923.
Oh, wow.
The
author there?
The author is Florence Scovel Shinn.
Oh, yes. I read her stuff. She's amazing.
Uh-huh. All right. I found this book after she was dead 50 years.
Yep. She's one of the originals.
Yeah.
In the self-development domain. Yeah. A lot of, I think, a lot of the more modern, more current Tony Robbins and these other peoples of the world, learn from legends like that from her day. Like I have the complete works of Frances Scovel Shinn.
Yeah,
right?
I have the complete works on it as well.
Yeah, and I often go there for inspiration and clarity.
But that's why I do it. Is I may never develop half that stuff, but let's say my kids or my grandkids pick that folders up and they go, hey, let me just put the notes of my grandfather, Tim, out there. And let's say some guy 50 years after you and I are gone, Gordon, we're playing poker up in the sky. And someone picks that up and it changes their life. I'm good. I've done my part. All right. Because when I die, I can't do anything past that. So I want to leave it here, not take it with me. You know what I mean? It's like somebody says, you go to the graveyard. It's the most wealthy place on earth because all the knowledge that's there that was never put in books.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy.
You are contemplating in what you produce as something that contributes to your legacy.
I hope it does. You know what I mean? Yeah. I hope it does. I hope it doesn't just help people so I can fill my coaching program this month. I hope it helps people.
Yeah.
As the world progresses, because I'm a small pigment of what this world is. I'm a speck of a speck. When you look at the whole world. Yeah. So, well, Gord, I mean, it's interesting getting to know you here. I want to make sure people can connect with you. All right. Find the best website that they can reach you at and take this relationship to the next level.
Okay. So as the ticker banner is showing, it's gordisman.com, but I'd also say my same name. You can key in on YouTube. And if you want to learn about the kind of cool stuff I'm doing there and educating in video and I'm soon to be training people in course on education, and I do my coaching around everything video. So, you can always go to gordisman.com as the focal point.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they like you, they can Google your name. They'll find out information on you.
Yeah.
So even if you put your name into YouTube, by the way, they find you. I found that out too.
Yeah. Yep. I guess I'm building a bit of a legacy in what I'm doing.
You are. So
to think about it that way.
Yep. Well, Gord, before you go, all right, I like to play a game with all of my guests called This or That. I've got 9 questions specifically designed for you that, maybe we'll have a discussion about your answers. Maybe we'll just pick one and move on. Okay. You ready?
Sure. Fire away.
Number 1, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars. I'm enjoying Mandalorian and other stuff. I never watched them in sequence or anything like that, or was like a hardcore story follower. But I just like the stories and a lot of the characters that they have. But I also enjoy Star Trek. But I'll give Star Wars the nod.
Cool. If you're going to watch movies, are you a comedy movie or a horror movie type watcher?
I'm more drama. I used to be into horror decades ago, but it kind of lost its appeal. But
I was doing this or that, and I wasn't sure whether to put horror this time or you know what I mean, or drama. And I found I'm going to put horror. Anyway, most YouTube geeks like you and I are into like Star Wars, Star Trek, and horror or comedy. So well, this next one here, if you're riding in the car, are you listening nowadays to an audiobook or a podcast, or are you listening to music?
Okay, that's interesting. I find I go in cycles. Okay. So I may have my craze where I'm in my walks all the time. I'm clicking on podcasts to listen to, right? And hooking my phone up to the car to do Bluetooth and hear podcasts. But then I'll go through cycles where I'm not listening to podcasts at all, right? So it comes and goes in waves.
Well, that's how we find this stuff out about you. Yeah. Let's move on to the food categories. All right. The next one is hamburger or taco.
Hamburger. I love tacos, but I'd say I'm probably consuming hamburgers,
my favorite food. I have hamburger buns downstairs. If you're going to have a drink, are you a beer drinker or a wine drinker?
Neither. Nope. I don't consume alcohol. I'm more, I'd say iced tea would be a drink for me.
Black tea or green tea. See, I can switch real quick.
Tea. Huh? Green tea with a little bit of honey and lemon.
With lemonade. I make mine with lemonade in it. Yep.
Oh, that's cool. Because green tea, I've reason, and I learned this an interesting way, because when I was fighting the diabetic battle, I was consuming liters nonstop of fluid, but I started to do iced tea, green tea. And what I realized, it totally cleared up a respiratory infection I had that I'd been fighting for years, just sitting there. Yeah. And because I went on this mega consumption of like 1 to 2 liters, sometimes that much of green tea in a day, it quickly cleared everything up in my lungs.
Changed my world when I went to tea, because I was drinking, I love Dr. Pepper, and I was drinking the like Red Bulls and Monster. And I went to this.
Yeah. Well, I heard you mention and talk about detoxing and stuff like that. I mean, I came from years of natural health stuff, so I'm always into, especially after the diabetic crash. Yeah. Now I've lost 53 pounds, and my route is a totally different one as far as what I stick in to eat.
So, my next food question is cookies, peanut butter cookie or chocolate chip?
Ooh, I like both. So how about peanut butter chocolate chip cookies would be the ultimate. I'm not very good at following this or that. I'm like, it could be a blend.
It could be. So how about this next one here? All right, as we move into some of the personal categories, are you a guy who likes to work alone or work with a team?
I've done both, because I was project leader. I'm really enjoying working alone now, if I were to give my perspective now. Yeah.
I do. I'd rather work alone, but there's times I need the team, but I do most of my work alone.
And that's, but you get that through the coaching and working with people. So I kind of, and Zoom's your friend if you want to go into a bigger sense, or Clubhouse or other things.
Yep. My last two are the controversial ones. The next one being the toilet paper at your house. Does it go over on the roll or under?
I would say over.
Over. Okay. No. That is the most opinionated question I ask on this show. All right. Of 700 and some shows I've done, that is the most opinionated question I get to ask.
That's not a deep one for me.
I know. My answer is always whatever way my wife wants it.
There you go. Better safe than sorry.
Yep. She's the boss on that one. So my last one, and I've had interesting discussions with guys on this one as well as girls, but I don't know why. But boxers or briefs?
Briefs.
Like the tighty whities, or like, are you into the fancy briefs?
More like tighty whities, I guess.
Because I mean, with our age, all right. When I got out of high school, my grandmother used to say to me every year, "What do you want for Christmas or your birthday?" Socks and underwear, Grandma. That works. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she literally would just go down and buy the Hanes tighty whities and send them to me. Yeah. But I'm a boxer brief kind of guy now. So anyway.
Cool.
All right. Well, Gord, it's been great having you on the show. I want you to repeat the website so everybody here can get a hold of you one more time.
Yeah, it's just my name, gordisman.com, and you can find where to go from there to the YouTube channel, or same name. Just search me, as you saw, Tim. There's plenty of ways to find me.
Plenty of ways to find you. That's right. So, well, Gord, I thank you for taking time out of your schedule today. All right, come here and sharing with my community I very much appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. It was fun. Cool. Thank you.
To you, the listener, I want to thank you guys thank you for tuning in, watching this, listening to it on your favorite podcast network, wherever it is you are getting this. Do me a favor, subscribe, whether it's on YouTube or if you are listening on the podcast, subscribe there so you can catch the next episode of The Coolest People on the Planet. I'm Tim Gillette. I'll see you guys next time. But in the meantime, have a great day. Bye.